Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill, and I'm very glad to see you today. And I have a very special guest with me, but I'll tell you about him in just a second. You know that since Thrive Life shut down a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, I've been getting all kinds of questions from you, from a lot of my customers about do we have another or company that we recommend for freeze-dried food. We have been on a search and we have been doing vetting for a lot of time for the past month, and we have found a company, and it's called Thrivalist.com. And this is Marcelo Sojopoulos, and he is the owner of Thrivalist.com. So I am very happy to have him here. Um, you know, Thrive Life, you know how good the food was. Many of you use it. But Thrive only had freeze-dried food. Thrivalist is much broader, and this is what I really like about it. It's got three freeze-dried food. It's got a lot of prepper supplies. It's also got a lot of education to teach you how to be a better prepper. So I'm really excited about that. So Marcelo, say hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
so good to be here.
I'm sort of stepping all over. I'm sorry. Um, the name Thrivalist is very interesting. I get questions about that already. It
hmm
has to do with the difference between prepper and survivalist.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I'm
want
going
to
to
talk
go
about?
into, I'll explain
Yeah,
that a little bit if you want.
yeah, yes, please.
So now what's interesting is in the industry, you have preppers, you have survivalists, right? You have those two big ones. And everybody talks about prepper to survivalists. And most people don't know what the big difference is between the two. They don't know if they're a prepper or survivalist. And I speak at a lot of big conferences for preppers and for survivalists. And I'll ask the word straight out. I'll say, "What is a prepper?" And they'll go, "Well, I think it's this, right?" I'll say, "What's a survivalist?" And I think it's this. I've never been able to ever once get the same definition twice in any conference. By the way, nobody really knows. I searched the internet, tried to figure out what people say about it. There is no common definition, so I created one. And what happens is in the industry is you have preppers, okay, who focus on supplies over skills. And that's what I tell people. That's the definition. A prepper focuses on supplies over skills, and survivalists focus on skills over supplies. As soon as I say that, people go, "Yeah, that's exactly me. I'm a prepper or I'm a survivalist." They have a home because they know what it is. The truth is, most people don't want to be preppers. Most people don't. I'm a prepper, okay? Okay, but most people don't want to be preppers because they don't want to be known as hoarders. And most people don't want to become survivalists because they don't want to be known as fanatics. Now, obviously, there's preppers that are not hoarders, and there's prepper survivalists that are not fanatics. They're just doing common sense things. But what happens in the industry is when you need to get prepared for emergencies, you have to have the right supplies, and you have to have the right skills without going overboard. That's called the Thrivalist. It's a Venn diagram where the two things come together, and right in the middle, if you know the right supplies and the right skills to learn, you can literally get better prepared in 90 days or less than you could get prepared without that information in 10 to 15 years, literally. I've been doing this for 15 years professionally, and I can tell you that with certainty, okay, because I teach people who've been doing prepping for 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years sometimes. And especially here in Utah, I mean, the center of preparedness in the world, right? I will go to conferences and they will be at the front or the back of my audience like this. Go ahead, try to teach me something new, right? And they don't have $200,000, $300,000 in mistakes like I do. They don't have, manufacturing experience like I do. They don't have all that stuff. So what happens is I end up teaching them, and they're like, "Oh, I had no clue, right? I didn't understand the science behind pouches and the science behind cans. I didn't understand foods. I didn't understand water. I didn't understand filters. I didn't all the stuff that I've had to learn all these years, right?" And so what happens is when we're able to teach that information the right way the first time, and they don't have to go through years and years of making mistakes, and worse than that, thinking they're doing it right, but doing it wrong, which is more dangerous because during an emergency, when you go pull out that stuff to use it and you can't use it because it's wrong or it went bad. I mean, here I got a can right here, just an example. People are storing um, pancake mix, which you never should store for long term. How in the world are people getting 20, 25 year shelf life out of pancake mix? You can see it's exploding. You can't package pancake mix, just as an example. But people trust marketing. They trust, what companies say. They go, well, the FDA would never allow them to say that if it wasn't true. That's not true. Okay, the FDA doesn't check most companies, just to let you know. And just being honest out there, we get our inspections at our warehouse, but it's up to us to be honest. Does that make sense? For the most part, until somebody gets in trouble, and then you have to do a recall, right? So the going back to Thrivalist, if you know the right things to do, you can get better prepared in 90 days or less than you could get prepared in 10 to 15 years. That's what we teach. We teach the science, we teach the principles of preparedness. And like I said, you have to have the right supplies, you have to have the right skills. I was speaking at one of the top survival camps, and a guy came up to me and he said, Marcel, I know all the skills. I know how to survive in the wilderness. I really don't need any supplies. And I said, but why would you do that to your family? I mean, you and I both know that it takes 6 hours to get enough food for one person in your family per day. And you have what, 3 or 4 kids or whatever, right? How in the world are you going to do that? It's impossible to be able to feed your family. You have the means right now to be able to save up food and learn skills. That's great. Skills are awesome because if you lose all your food and you lose all your supplies and everything else, you have your skills as a backup, and that's great. But those supplies are super important, especially in a transition, especially if you live in a city, especially if you live in a place where everybody is going to go after the deer in the neighborhood, right, or in the mountains nearby. And you look at the depression where the deer disappeared, like people went after the food in the forests and stuff like that, and after a while nobody could get anything, right? Everybody's going to go after your own garden in your backyard, right? People will jump the fence and take whatever they can. You can't not have the supplies. So supplies and skills are super important. And to his credit, he said, you're right. I'm gonna not be macho, like I'm not gonna try to show off and everything like that. You're right. I should get the supplies and the skills at the same time.
I discovered kind of the same thing you're talking about, but from a little bit of a different perspective. When I first started our channel many years ago, we changed our name now, but we used to be called Tiny House Prepper. We lived in 250 square feet, and we
Hmm.
were we were preppers, and we didn't really have room for a garden. We lived on a tiny little piece of property, and a lot of people, like you said, that live in cities and apartments and all that, they don't have room for a garden. So we were preppers, and we were doing a lot of videos about prepping, and I had a number of people come and accuse me and say, "You're not a prepper unless you're gardening and canning."
Hmm.
And I had to think about that, and I realized, no, that's not gardening, that's homesteading.
Yeah.
That's In order to be a homesteader, you need to have the skills that you talked about, the
Hmm.
skills to raise crops and do animal husbandry.
Yep.
And so I had on one side preppers and then on the other side homesteaders, and the
Hmm.
combination of the two was prepsteaders. So
I like that.
it's a little bit different, but basically the same as what you're saying.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. And there are three big camps. There's the Thrivalist, right? The prepping, getting ready at home, and everything like that. There's the survivalist, how to survive outside the home, and then there's the homesteaders,
yeah,
which is I don't need society, or I just need my little community, right? And my homesteading. So you're right.
right. So you've had a lot of education. I want to talk about that in a minute, but
Hmm.
so the the website is called Thrivalist, but
Yep.
your product, your freeze dried food, is actually called Ready Harvest.
Yeah.
Get that to focus. Now you have all kinds of fruits and all kinds of vegetables, variety of other things. You don't at this point have meat in your own brand,
Yeah.
so you're going with Mountain House for the meats
Yep.
at this point. I'd never had Mountain House like this. I had Mountain House meals for
Hmm.
backpacking 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But so I bought this and I made chili out of it and I made taco salad out of it. This ground beef hamburger is every bit as good as Thrive was, and
Oh,
quite
it's amazing.
frankly,
Yeah.
it surprised me. So, but the
Yeah.
majority of your products are your own brand, um, Ready Harvest, and then there are a few things that are Mountain House for now, at
Mhm.
least.
Yep.
So you also have a sample kit
I
that
do.
is 14 products and a free course.
Yeah.
And
The free score. Free.
I want to talk about that in a second, but
You bet.
the sample kit I believe the price is $99, but I can give you a coupon code where you can get the sample kit for 29
Totally.
97. So, and you're going to get 14 small packets of samples, but the free course that comes with it is really amazing. It's got about, if I read it correctly, 20 hours of video in there.
I think it's 20, 25 hours, probably
Yeah,
closer to 25.
so tell us about that.
You bet. So a couple years ago, we filmed a 5 day challenge. We actually did 6 days, and with that 5 day challenge, I was trying to figure out how do I keep it so simple that if somebody is starting out in preparedness right now, they're not going to feel overwhelmed. So I started out with stories. By day three, you're getting some pretty good meat, for people who've been doing preparedness for a while, and I teach deeper principles. Now, during that 5 day challenge, obviously, I can't teach everything I know that I've learned over 20, 30,000 hours of experience, real world experience. Okay. There's no way I could teach that. So in that 5 hours, it's meant to teach people some principles that are, easy enough to understand if you're just getting started, not going to feel overwhelmed, but also deep enough that if you've been doing prepping or survivalist stuff for a while, that you're going to go, wow, that's amazing. And that's what we did. The whole reason for the course was to lead people to a bigger course that'll actually help them out the most that we can. Okay, this is a mission for me, just to let you know. I don't take a paycheck. This is my business to be able to give back. And when you look at that, if I can help somebody get in the door, learn enough about preparedness to get excited to get into the door of a real program that's going to help them get really prepared before some bomb goes off in New York and everybody runs and grabs all the toilet paper and water again, or a worse pandemic, right? If I can help people, then I'm going to help them, and that's what we do. So that course is to lead them to a bigger education that'll help them learn more about preparedness in just a month. I mean, people get it done in a month and they learn more about preparedness than they could in 10, 15 years. And we give a 30-day money back guarantee and everything. We stand behind everything we do. Okay. But our goal is to help a ton of families. That 5 day challenge has me speaking for about an hour, and then I bring on a bunch of my celebrity and professional friends, people from the show alone, YouTube stars, all this stuff who are really good at preparedness, and they come and speak with me. So we kind of do a tag teaming. Now you get 5 days of that, okay, and then I threw in a 6 day where I just give like I think 13 hours, 12, 13 hours of my friends speaking, teaching different topics. Like one of them is Jeannie Dayton. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeannie Dayton. She is the number one expert in the world for the last 35 years, 40 years, whatever, that teaches you how to make bread, okay, with one recipe, super simple, no oils. And I do it at home and it's amazing. It's delicious. But she is the number one bread authority, emergency bread making authority in the world. And with that one recipe, super, super simple recipe, you can make about 100 different things. So we
Wow.
make pizza and we make rolls and we make bread. I mean, it's just amazing. And she has that whole course now. She's teaching in there. You have David Nisha, who was on the show alone twice, and he's teaching with me on there. I mean, just a whole bunch of good people. Jim Phillips. I mean, he's dead now, and he's a legend in the industry. He's one of my friends. He's dead now, but still consider him a friend on the other side of the veil, right? But he's in there teaching. I mean, it's just amazing. He is the number one expert in the world for cold winter clothing, and he helps you know how to stay warm when things are really really cold, right? Um, I mean, he's amazing. There's so many of that type of information in there.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really excited that you're actually offering that for free. That blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah, to your followers. I mean, if people go on there, it's a $600 program just for the 5 day challenge. And if you go on there right now, I think we have it discounted for what 197, 197 or something like that. If you use your code, we're
Right.
letting people have 14 foods to try, okay, in the mail, and throwing in the $600 course for free, so you don't have to pay the 197 and the food, but you get that all with your code. So just make sure you get that out there.
So I will have links down below to the website, and I'll have the code in there. But I think if you use my link to the website, I think it automatically puts that code in there for you. But I'll have the code so you know how to get that
Yeah.
discount. Um, so I get questions all the time on the channel of people who want to start prepping or start storing their food, and they don't really know where to go, and they always ask me, "How do I get started?" Well, here
Yeah.
you go. Go in here and buy that sample kit. You're going to get sample of 14 products and all of those hours and hours of video training that will show you exactly what you need to do. That's why I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
So, um, now you told me a little bit before about how you actually got into this. That it was a pretty long story, so I try to keep it short. But
Yeah, you bet.
yeah, so
Yeah,
how
I
did
can
you
tell
get
you a
into
little bit.
actually producing and selling it yourself?
You bet. So, I'll tell parts of the story because, like you said, there's a lot more to it, and I want to give the right information. I did get into survival stuff. I did get into all that when I was single back, decades ago, learning from some of the best in the world, and that was fun. I mean, it was awesome as a single guy. And I went through Y2K. I'm in my mid 50s. I went through Y2K, and I was interested in preparedness, but not really. And I went through 9/11, and I was interested in preparedness, but not really. And then 2007, 2008 came around, then the Aztec Maya stuff and all that stuff, right? But towards the end of like around the 2007, 2008 time, a little bit after that, when the world was worried about a depression and everything else, I ended up getting married. And so what happens is when I ended up getting married, it switched my whole world around. And I said, "Oh my goodness, I got to protect my wife. If we go through a depression in 2012, a few years later, because everybody was worried about Aztec Mayan prophecy and all that stuff, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't think the world was going to end, but I really did think we were going to go through a depression, in a few years. I need to be ready for this." So I started getting into preparedness like crazy. I started watching YouTube channels and going to Facebook and looking at groups and learning everything I could. And I'd made all the mistakes that everybody makes right now. It's just I look at it and I go, "Oh my goodness, what was I thinking?" But at the time, I did the best I could. And so I ended up getting case lots and filling up closets and putting stuff in the garage and getting everything I could, not knowing I was doing everything wrong. Bottled water. I mean, I thought that was the right way to go, and I just didn't know at the time. And I became the expert in my family. I mean, I probably had 1,000 hours of experience. Far, far from what I have right now, 20, 30,000 hours of real world experience. But at the time, my family was like, "Marcelo knows what he's doing. He is so good. Everybody, whatever Marcelo says, you do it." So I ended up buying emergency food from some of the two top brands out there. I mean, two of the top biggest brands. One was selling in Costco, and I ended up working directly with the company itself. So I was able to get better deals. And then the other one was the biggest one on Amazon right now. I went to them and bought their stuff. And they were saying it was freeze dried meals. And I was like, "Cool, it's freeze dried meals." They got a screaming deal. And I'm like, "Family, everybody, buy it. This is awesome." I didn't know it wasn't freeze dried meals. It's a thing called component meals. And we can talk about that on a different call sometime. But it was called component meals because they don't take all the components, mix it together, add water, diffuse it, cook it, make sure all the chemical reactions happen today, and then freeze dried. What they did is they threw a couple freeze dried components in a component meal that was dehydrated and freeze dried, uncooked. And the food went bad very quickly. And the other company, the food went bad really quickly. And I ended up influencing I don't know how many other families to purchase this stuff. And a year later, the food was bad.
Mm.
And I felt sick to my stomach. Not only with this thousands of dollars I spent for the food. I mean, if I told you how much money I spent on the food, it would freak you out. It'd be crazy. Okay, a lot of money on that food. But I felt even worse. Like I didn't care about my mistake. I felt even worse that I got my mom and my brother and my friends and everybody else to do it. And here they've lost tons of money when they didn't have the money to spend on that stuff. And I don't know if you've ever been through that where you got duped by somebody else and you feel like, "Man, I couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it." But it's even worse when you teach that to somebody else you care about. And I don't know if you've gone through that.
Oh, yeah.
But those people made me so angry. These companies out there marketing it as 20 and 25-year shelf life and everything else, it just made me so angry. So I started digging deeper into all these other companies to find out what they are doing. And they would start calling me because we became, I started a business now and we're number three on the internet. We're getting business all over the world. We're helping Navy SEALs. We're helping, FEMA, all these different people. We're servicing all these companies, cities, families all over the world. I mean, it's just fun growing, right? And now all of a sudden I have more information and I have companies reaching out to me saying, "Oh, we have the best freeze dried meals in the world." And I'm like, "Those aren't freeze dried." And they're like, "Yeah, they are." I'm like, "No, those are component meals." and they'd sit there and say, "Oh yeah, but you can feed your family for barely anything, for pennies on the dollar for 3, 4, 5 meals a day." And I said, "Have you calculated how many calories you get in your meals?" I calculated. It's about 500 to 600 calories per day. You'll die. There's no way. You need about 2,000 calories per day at least. Okay. And you're sitting there saying 500 to 600 calories. Nobody's going to be able to do that. They had the audacity, or whatever you call it, to tell me, well, if that's the problem, just double, triple, quadruple the meals each day, and you'll have enough calories. I go, then you don't have a month's worth of supply, and furthermore, you have way too much sodium. You have 5 to 6,000 milligrams of sodium. So pick your poison. Either you die with too much sodium, or you die of lack of nutrition, right? Not lack of calories. So I was able to start catching these families. And the more I started learning the science, more learning science, I started speaking at more and more conferences. And the more I spoke at conferences, people would come around me, teach me more, teach me more, teach me more. And I'm like, I can't teach everyone. So that motivated me to figure out how do I simplify it to put it into a course that anybody can take and learn more in less time. And so I ended up taking literally like this is just a workbook of the online course. This workbook right here, workbook, okay? Right here is what saves you 10 to 15 years of information. This, when you go along with the video courses, right, and you take it, it just saves you a ton of time and money and mistakes and everything like that. And so that took me over 4,000 hours to put together. And people say, "Oh man, 4,000 hours, it must be huge." No, if you understand the story about the famous writer who wrote his friend and said, "Sorry for the long letter. If I had more time, it would have been shorter." That's what I ended up doing. I made it so concise that people just get it very quickly, and I made it so easily that they understand difficult concepts very, very quickly. So that's what we've been able to do.
Very cool. Yeah. So, one other thing I want to talk about, and then I think we'll be done, but the cans. When you compare the price,
Hmm.
there are cheaper ones out there, cheaper companies out
Absolutely.
there.
Yep.
But talk about the level of the food in the can.
Totally. Yeah. If you just go on Amazon and you look at the major companies out there and look at the reviews, a lot of people open up their cans and the cans are going to be half full. Sometimes, I mean, literally, I've had cans that people give me that I open it up and here's the full can right here. You can see, and it literally is about one quarter full and one quarter to one third full. And I'm like, how in the world are people getting away with this? And the crazy thing about it is if you go to those reviews on Amazon, for example, people don't know the difference. They just think that cans are supposed to be not full. And they'll give high reviews, fours, fives, for something that is just junk. First of all, it's a lot of times it's from countries or places where the food is just yucky. I mean, it's just there's no nutritional value, very little nutritional value to that food. It's just the cheapest stuff. And so what we do is we go the extra mile to make sure we have the right foods. We have nutritious foods. We have delicious foods. We have non-GMO foods, even our corn, which is hard to get. Okay, and then we end up putting it in quality cans. Like I'll show you an example. This right here has a liner on the inside and the outside. Okay, if you open it, do you see the liner, the gold lining right there? Okay, what happens is a lot of people purchase cans like from here close to us we have a church cannery and that has no liners on the inside. I have people coming back years later and say, "Oh my goodness, my sugar, my powder, my powdered milk, all this stuff tastes like metal." I go, "Yeah, because you had no liner in the can." And so you need a liner in the can, a food grade liner, to be able to keep it from tasting and smelling like metal over time. And you have to throw it away after that because you can't take one more bite. It's horrible. Okay. So what happens is we put a high grade liner on the can. We get our cans from the U.S. because those are the best made ones I've found. We've tried the ones from Mexico. We've tried other ones from different places. The U.S. is the strongest, best cans. And so we pay extra for U.S., extra for a good liner. And then we go and do what nobody else in the industry really does. We fill up our cans. And nobody wants to,
What a
yeah,
concept.
crazy. Nobody wants to fill up their basement or their storage area with half filled cans. That's precious space. So we treat other people's families like we would treat our families with the right foods, the right liners, the right cans, because cans are better than pouches, by the way. There's so many people out there with pouches. And I'll just give you an example. They're doing what called, they call it, Mylar pouches, right? You look inside and you're like, oh man, it's so metal, oh, it's amazing and everything like that. And they don't know that, the metallized pouch, you just take it and you put a little flashlight in it. And if light can get through, what else is going to get through over 25 years? So they're doing cheap pouches. There are better pouches, and I can talk about that some other day. But what happens is if you're doing the right packaging for the long term, cans are always the best. It's like a metal wall versus a chain link fence. You're getting a metal wall around your food. And when you're talking about emergency preparedness, that is huge. And I'll give you an example before I go back to the fill levels. I was speaking at an event, and a guy said, "Hey, I think I got the wrong food." And I got a family of, let's see, it was a family of five. So him and his wife and three kids. And he said, "I think I got the wrong food after listening to everything you taught about, and I got 3 years worth of food storage, and I think I totally messed it up." And I asked the question that tells me everything. When somebody says I got 3 years worth of food storage, I can do calculations really quickly, because you look at this. If I were to ask you, if these strawberries come from, Egypt, for example, or wherever it comes from, right, or Mexico or wherever, right? If you were to look at these strawberries and you were able to find them in the store, your local supermarket, okay, and they're not cut, they're not cleaned completely and ready for long-term packaging. They're rotting right there. I mean, just if you don't eat them quickly, they're going to go bad after a few days. They're just there, okay. If you looked at that freeze-dried straw or unfreeze-dried strawberry, just regular strawberry, and compared it to a freeze-dried strawberry, where we have to clean it, cut it, we have to deep freeze it, then freeze dry it for a couple days, then package it in expensive cans where it can last 25 years if you do it right, or expensive pouches or whatever you're going to do. Which one is going to be less expensive? And it's obvious, right? The one from the store, because they haven't done all the extra prep to make it last long. And then so what happens is people go out there and they try to get the cheapest stuff out there. And they don't understand this is for an emergency. Buy once, cry once. Don't get the cheapest stuff that everyone's trying to sell because they're amazing marketers and they're trying to, get you all excited to buy their stuff because it's in a bucket and it's all the pre-made meals and everything like that, which go bad quickly. Get the right stuff and do it right the first time, because when you get to an emergency and you try to eat that other food, your body will reject it. After a month, you're like, I can't eat anymore. I can't take one more bite of this. But if you have the right ingredients, you have the right delicious foods and everything else, you can. So if you're going to do this right, you're going to spend more money. So I asked him a question. Here's the question. It told me everything. You got 3 years worth of food for your family of five. How much do you spend on food every month? Now, most people, $500 to $1,000. So let's just go $500. And then I asked him the question, how much did you spend on that food? He said $2,400. And I said, you don't have 3 years worth of food. Because if this food is more nutritious, better package, it can last a long time, it's going to be more expensive than what you buy in the store. So if you have $2,400 worth of food and you spend $500 normally on your family, just do the math. How much is that per year? 6,000 times 3, 18,000. You don't have 3 years worth of food. And if you do, it's the junkiest stuff in the world. You should throw it away. So I went to his house. I went in there, took a look at it to be nice, and sure enough, it was junk, and he didn't have enough. And luckily, he got it from Costco, and he was able to return it and got his money back. But most people cannot do that. Okay, so what happens is I tell people, buy once, cry once, get the right stuff. So you get back to this, and I'll just give you a little bit of industry because I like to expose stuff in the industry, and that makes me live at a higher level because now once I show all the tricks that everybody uses, now I have to live at a higher level. This is what happens in the industry. You have a net weight and you have a fill line. These cans can fit a little bit over 24 half cups. So 12 cups, make it easy. 12 cups of food. Okay? Just a little bit, like right there is about 12 cups of food. When we fill up our cans, it usually settles to about right there. When you fluff it up and take it out, it goes back up to where it was because it's all fluffy now and it hasn't settled. But it goes to about right there after it settles. That's about 12 cups worth of food. So you have a bunch of companies out there saying, I mean, it's crazy. I've seen this. We have 48 half cups of food inside here. I'm like, how? It's only 12 cups. But what they're doing is they're saying, okay, when you hydrate it, it comes out to 48, right? And they're using that trick. So don't use that trick, right? You get rid of it. It's 12 cups. So what happens is they'll fill it up to about right there and they'll say 24 half cup servings. How? There's no way. Because in the industry, you go by one of two things. You either go by the net weight or you go by the fill line. When you go by the net weight, you always have to match the net weight or higher. It doesn't have to be the exact net weight. People don't understand that. The FDA doesn't care if you go higher, they just don't want you going lower. So what happens is they'll get a strawberry, a batch of strawberries, and when those strawberries are freeze dried, they're more condensed in one batch. And then the next batch, it's less condensed. So on one batch, you're getting, you might be getting 6 ounces, 5 ounces, whatever, and it's going to fill up to right there, less condensed. And most companies are going to be very careful not to get up to the top in case they get a batch that's even less condensed than that. Okay, so they'll use a line about right there to say that's our normal, less condensed fill line. Then they get a batch of strawberries that are super condensed and it goes down to there, but it's the exact same weight. So what they'll do is they'll fill it in there and they'll sell it and everybody buys it. What we do is we say, okay, let's not play that game. Let's put a conservative number here. Our numbers are always wrong, just to let you know. We put a conservative number and our numbers are higher. So our net weights are higher pretty much every single time. I mean, once in a while it might hit it, okay, but pretty much every time it's higher. And then we fill up the can because that's what we would do for our families. Does that make sense? Nobody does that.
So if you're looking at the cost of the different companies, you might find one that's 20% cheaper or 30% cheaper, but you're getting, 50 or 60% less food.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
even 50% cheaper, but they're using cheap food.
right, right, yeah. So yeah, that was another thing that really impressed me about your company is that, even I mean, I've definitely opened cans myself that were only half full, and this I haven't bought that much of your stuff yet. I've done a couple orders, but so far everything that I've opened has been filled up right to the top. So that's makes me very happy. We've been talking a lot here about long-term food storage, prepping, emergency supplies, all that kind of stuff. And we are preppers. We do all of that, but we also use it on a daily basis. We have always used
Totally.
it on a daily basis. And, people say that it's too expensive to use it that way. But what people are missing is part of the formula is the waste, the spoilage. You were talking about strawberries. If you go down and buy a big, beautiful thing of strawberries at the grocery store, if you don't use them within 48 hours, they're probably going to be all moldy and you have to throw them away.
Oh, that's expensive food.
Yeah. So what's the most expensive food you can buy? It's the food you have to throw away.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
freeze-dried food completely eliminates the waste portion out of the formula, and that
hmm
brings the cost way down. So I just wanted to point that out, once again.
absolutely. And if you can get to a point where, I tell people, you literally can buy the stuff and store it away. You never have to touch it because it's that good. Okay, we package it the right way. But if you can start using it and get used to using it, when an emergency happens, there's no change in habit.
Right.
Does that make sense? You
Absolutely.
know how to use the garlic, you know how to use the onions, you know how to use the carrots, you know how to use the whatever it is, right? Your
Yeah.
kids already love the apples. Your kids already love the pineapple, whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
like you're comfortable with the food, you crave the food because you're using
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, man. That was just like drinking from a fire hydrant. So much information, so much good, interesting information. Um, One thing more I want to say to you guys is that, Thrive Life was a networking company at MLM. I got a lot of grief from a lot of people who were anti MLM and they just, whatever, for whatever reason, didn't like it. Well, Thrivalist is not a network MLM company. It's an affiliate program.
it.
So I'm no longer in the MLM space. So that'll make some of you happy. But if you're interested in becoming an affiliate for Thrivalist, there's also a link down below where you can sign up as an affiliate. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Um, Gosh, I think we've covered it.
Just let you know, Bill, I set it up for you. So also, if people make that purchase for the $29, they're going to be right after they make the purchase, they're going to have the ability to join the affiliate
Oh,
program as well and share it with their friends.
okay.
And any money that they make, just to let you know, you can take it in money. But if you don't have the money to buy product, we can switch that over to credit to buy product. And a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do I get my preparedness going? How do I get my preparedness going? Just use, your affiliate link to create an affiliate link for themselves, and then they can send it to their friends and sell, you know, the food, or get the $29 started with them while we're doing this little deal, right? Use the $29 to get it to a ton of friends for them to try and to get the free course. I mean, we might as well do it while we have it up for a couple weeks, right?
Right. Yeah, very cool. Um, so that's it, guys. I obviously, we usually do cooking demonstrations, and we didn't do one here. We'll probably do our next cooking show in a few weeks, and we'll show you actually using this. But I really think this is an exceptional company. I wanted you to meet Marcelo and hear some of the story behind it and how, they're processing and how they think about producing the food and everything. So, Marcelo, thank you so much for your time. I
Well,
really
you're welcome.
appreciate it.
Great to be
Yeah.
here. Let me know if there's any way I can serve you more. Anything else I could do for you and your followers.
Okay, I certainly will. So, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Be blessed. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.